That was the last bite.
You want one, Chase? I can hit you with it again.
Hit me.
It's time!
Fighting! Out of the red corner, weighing in at 164 pounds, standing at 6 foot 1 inches tall, Alafair. You love to see it. Alright, boys. Well, we're right back in it, right where we left off. On the train.
Oh, man.
Turn your camera on, you giggly little bastard.
It is on.
That's on.
I can see him.
I got it on, man.
I had to click on it for some reason.
Interesting.
It wants you to acknowledge that you see Blake.
Alright, so we're on the train. We just left Shastel.
Mm-hmm. Just had your
What
little
time?
powwow after Valan stormed off all emo on his own.
Oh, one thing that we were kind of talking about at the end of last session, Josh does not know that something's wrong with Valan yet, or he failed that roll when we were having the talk, so he just kind of blew it off, like, oh, he's a teenage kid, right? Remember we were talking about that? Okay.
Yeah. Mechanically,
All right,
that
cool.
did happen, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't know we came to the conclusion on that.
Well,
Wait, that Josh is blowing the way Valen's acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
He knows something's wrong, but he's just like, oh, he's a kid. He's just a little
Oh,
teenager.
okay.
Like he like blew it off.
Gotcha.
must have had a wild night, that sort of thing. Well, who wants to get this party started?
Hey, where's this train headed to now? What's our next stop?
After Chestel?
Portad.
Yes, sir.
Man, crazy night last night with that robbery, right? Right, guys?
Hi.
I'm gonna emerge from my
You guys can control yourselves, too. You should-
my den. I'm gonna head in.
Okay.
I'm gonna say good morning,
Oh,
and I'm gonna sit next to.
It's still like nice. You guys got on about 7 p.m., so...
It's still night. All right, I'm not going in there then.
We went to the.
Well, you guys know you have to do the ritual, or you were supposed to do the ritual tonight, like a little bit after midnight,
Oh.
when you're
Ain't
far
coming at
away
me.
from the town.
So we went to the strip club during the day.
Yeah,
Degenerates, dude.
it's popping in there.
Ooh,
It's a wild...
God, just the way Widegrowl loves it. You guys want to smoke some Fey Leaf?
Well, we are about to do a runic ritual here, so maybe not.
True.
Where's Petros?
He's
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask.
vibing in his cabin. Well, make a perception check. All you guys.
Even me?
Yeah, you can. There we go. Okay, so Valan and Brommus, both of you guys hear Petros meditating, almost like chanting Om from inside his room. The other two, you guys don't hear shit.
Let's check on the old man. I walked up to his door and knock on his door.
Okay, you can drag yourself.
I'm staying in my room.
So once you knock, he just a second or two goes by. You hear the chanting stop, and he kind of slides the door open and goes, come in, come in. Big day, I hear.
Aye, big evening there in Chastel. We got all the ingredients for you.
Excellent.
We also made a stop at the old Ambrosia. Don't know if you heard of it.
I've dabbled.
Aye. How was your evening?
Productive. Been busy getting things ready. Hopefully we're on schedule still. We'll be passing the relevant ley lines somewhere around 1 or 2 in the morning, so I hope you guys are ready.
What do you mean, relevant ley lines? Does that mean we're doing the ritual on the train?
You have no choice.
Aye, here in this cabin or in the back?
Oh no, we'll be doing it in this cabin. Most definitely. We're gonna have to take some steps to ensure privacy, but I think all will go well. I think.
Aye. You let me know when you're ready. I'll get back with the lads.
Right? We'll have to go over some instructions, and the 5 of us will have to prepare. So rouse them, see if they're good to go, and we'll get this party started.
Got it. I'll walk over and knock on Valen's door.
I gather myself because I know he doesn't know what happened or anything like that, and then I'll open the door and I'll say, "Hey, Brommus, how are you?"
Aye, Daisy, get your wits together, clean your willy off. It's time to talk with Petros about the ritual.
All right, I'll go do that. And I go and walk to the bathroom.
And I'll walk over and knock on the door and let them know.
I guess the bathroom's like down here, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Who is it?
Me, Brommus. Petros.
Hey,
is ready.
Brommus.
Petros has some instructions for us he'd like to go over for the ritual.
Oh, we better. You guys ready?
I'm just in the bathroom, like, gathering myself and, like, splashing water on my face and everything, and...
Ooh.
I'm still in my
Kinda.
cabin, right? I rolled really low perception, so I don't even think I know that anyone's talking yet.
He just came and said that to you.
Yeah,
You were sitting in the
he
room
came
with
and got
the other
us.
2, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just came and knocked on your door.
Yeah, I didn't know that we were all together.
And then
Um,
I gather myself and I head back up here.
I'll just kind of like not say anything and walk up with everybody.
I'm debating whether or not I should have you guys roll on this.
I'm down to.
All right. Widegrowl and Brommus, go ahead and roll sense motive.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, I didn't see Brommus. Already rolled 2. Okay. Widegrowl, you're excited about this whole ritual thing. You don't know what all that's about. You're a little bit stoned, and
I've been excited. Like, legitimately.
Brommus, you can tell that there's something up with those 2. There has been since you got on the train, but now you're sure of it.
Alafair. Valan. What the fuck's going on with you two? You both look like, something's wrong.
I look over at Alafair and... What do you mean? Everything's fine.
Yes, just fine. Combination of a late sleep and the Fey leaf. It's all ready to bounce back and see who's in that bottle.
Alafair rolled bluff and, or sorry, Valan roll bluff. Alafair, you can aid. So if you roll high enough, he gets a +2.
Oh my god.
You don't buy it.
I don't buy it. Just what someone would say if something wasn't alright. Why are you sweating so much, Valan? What's,
I slam my
running down
fist,
your
and
face?
I slam my fist on the wall, and I say, I don't give a fuck what you buy.
Alright, that Petros pokes his head out and he just goes, "What's going on out here? What now?"
I will look at Brommus and look at Valan and just say, "Nothing, Petros. Just getting ready for the ritual, making sure everyone understands how serious it is. Right, Greenlung?" And I'll cast Charm Person.
Oh boy. Alright. Brommus, go ahead and make a will saving throw. You succeed.
How could he not with a mustache like that?
Hang on 1 second.
Do I have to roll anything to see like how effective it is, or
No,
is that
it worked
just-
fully. So
okay.
you know he essentially mechanically out of character. What the spell does is it doesn't let you control people, but it makes them like essentially see you in the most favorable light.
Mm-hmm.
So where they would normally be suspicious or want to doubt or be wary or angry or something, they're friendly.
Right.
Sort of resets their disposition.
I respond, aye.
All right, bloody good. Let's get on with it then.
Yeah, boy.
I can't believe that worked. That's so good. Okay, give me 1 second. This is a little complicated.
Oh. What's Valen's reaction to Greenlung just being like, "Yeah, it's all good"?
I just like widened. Like, what just happened? Like I could sort of think like he was like intimidated by me because I don't know that you tested
Yeah.
John Person, so.
You're like,
And I didn't expect him to be intimidated by me because he's like this you know, tough dwarf from the woods.
Nice. Okay, so Petros gets to kind of get everyone into a huddle, and he's like, "Okay, here's the deal. Plan's simple. We're going to do what we can to contact whatever personality fragment remains inside this vessel. That being the jar." She sort of shakes in his hand. Like that. It was to do so requires a ritual of utmost precision and a great deal of power. Could be no mistakes on this one. If anyone wants out, they need to say so now. Once we're close enough to the ley line, there's no backing out. When the circle's locked in, we have no choice but to proceed.
Aye, let's get on with it.
I'm ready.
I'm in.
Right. First things first, we'll need to prepare the ritual space. This is going to require some degree of privacy. Alafair, I'm given to understand you have a certain ability that's common to your kind, or you can obscure the field of view around us.
I'll kind of look at him, and I'll just hold my hand out, and you just kind of see like a little smoke, like kind of like form.
Nice. It's like, alright. When the time comes, we'll need you to fill the cab with it. In the interim, we'll have to set up the magical circles that will prepare and protect us against... Well, it's hard to explain, but anytime we're going to be slinging around this much power, we have the potential to attract something from the great beyond, more than just what we're looking for. It's tension we certainly don't want, but in the event it happens, you need to understand that nothing, and I mean nothing, can happen to us while we stay inside the wards. Nothing can get in unless we allow it to get in. I want you to be crystal clear on that fact.
Clear.
Excellent. Jared, you good?
Yeah, I was just gonna say clear.
Okay. Right. Okay, so let's have all of you, one of you roll a D100 and the rest of you roll a D20 for me.
Does it matter who rolls what?
You guys can choose, it doesn't really matter. There's no relevant bonuses or...
Ooh.
Okay. So Petros instructs you guys on how to draw out the... It's not quite a magical circle or an alchemical circle, but it's a series of interconnected, almost prisms. Each one getting smaller and smaller until there's a small space, roughly about 10 feet square in the center. About here. I know it's not exactly 10 feet, but you guys get the gist. Each of you he gives individual instructions to, taking the objects that he had you fetch from the town, so votive candles, the sage, the rosemary, the various flowers, feathers, the finger bones, etc., and has you scatter them at set intervals, forming almost a loose pentagram around the circle itself. And he has, well, he says each of you needs to change into something a little more appropriate. I need you to pick your most neutral clothing. Something that won't offend the temperament of any spirits we encounter. White would do, but anything plain, anything without dirt, gore, anything like that.
Can I cast disguise for like any bonuses or anything?
Not like that.
Is that gonna matter
you know
at
that,
all?
Roll Arcana. All you guys.
Fuck, dude.
Knowledge Arcana?
Yeah.
Yo, what the fuck? That's my second one.
Okay. Valan and Brommus, both of you guys can point out to the other guys that you know the reason that you're going to wear something as neutral as possible is that once the magic inside the circle is sealed and the ritual starts in earnest, it's going to start draining power from everyone inside of it. Anything that has a pattern or some sort of indicative direction can fuel that power, and it can basically cause the ritual to go wonky or screw up, or worse, blow a hole in one of the wards. So you need to be as neutral as possible, effectively.
Okay.
Alright, so after about an hour and a half, he lines you up and kind of inspects the setup, inspects the circle and everything in it. And he says, Widegrowl, be a good lad, dim the lights. You know, there's a switch towards the rear where the bathroom is. You don't have to go move it, just for flavor.
So does that mean we don't have our weapons on us or anything like that at all?
No, you, that was the next bit. So, when Widegrowl comes back, he'll say, alright, before we proceed, each of us must be ritually cleansed before we enter the circle. In addition to the neutral clothing, to avoid causing things to go bonkers, nothing that has a point, nothing that holds an edge, nothing sharp, and nothing with intention to harm can enter the circle. I repeat, for emphasis, if it does, we're double fucked. It will backfire, and we will probably all die at best. So, no weapons, no armor, no scrolls, no wands, no staves, other than this. And he holds out what you guys know, it's called an athame. It's a ritual dagger. It's not very sharp. It's just a functionary thing for rituals. And to start the purification process from outside the circle, he has each of you one at a time step up, and he daubs you with some sort of unguent paste that he pulls out of one of the jars you bought from the magic shop, and smudges you with sage one at a time, and then has you step into the circle individually. So you guys can determine where in these 6 squares you want to be standing, basically.
I'm gonna stay in the square I'm in.
All right.
Yeah.
Be next to Widegrowl.
I like this square.
Good.
Actually, where's Valan at? Be next to Valan. Where's that? Oh, that's Brommus. Yeah, right here. Perfect.
Still next to Widegrowl.
No, Valen's up top.
Is that Valan? I will
Yeah.
be next to Valan, yeah. Just in case. Just in case.
Okay.
As he walks over, I walk back over here.
You two quit horsing around. This is serious. We're about to handle a weapon of mass destruction. I expect a little professionalism.
I just want to be close to you, Petros.
Aye, fair enough.
I'll just stay on the side.
Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, eh? And he kind of elbows Valan a little bit, chuckling to himself. He's like, alright, in the event, and I say this, unlikely event that something were to happen, and or some sort of outsider may attempt to penetrate these wards, do not listen. They will say anything. Once again, they cannot hurt us unless we allow them in. They cannot come in unless we allow them in. In the event one does get close, or manages to force its way through, we're not defenseless. And he spends the next 10 or 15 minutes teaching you guys something called a gesture of warding, which is like a fancified hand signal, a magical hand signal, when accompanied with the right trigger phrase, it will cause psychic damage to anything outside the circle. So the trigger phrase is, "Into the light I command thee." Just so you guys know.
Okay.
Alright.
And then, as a final bit of business, once everyone is in position, he explains the actual steps and enactment of the ritual itself. So, for this to work, this is different than a typical arcane working. This is a psychic one. Nice. Of a different sort of power with different rules. Symbolism is extremely potent within the Great Beyond, and that carries over into the confines of this circle once sealed. In order for everything to function correctly, I need 2 of you to volunteer to be security. One of whom must face east, and the other must face west. Who amongst you is so brave?
I could do security.
I volunteer as tribute.
Alright, Brommus and Valan, you guys are going to have to switch spots then.
Perfect. Oh.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, man.
Alright. So, Valan, you are going to hold, there's a Petros hands you a wooden, almost toy-looking curved sword, and he instructs you to put it in your left hand, and he hands a straight, also wooden, very dull toy sword. It doesn't come, both, neither of them come to a point, which is the key. He hands it to you, Widegrowl, and he says, make sure you hold this in your right hand. no matter what happens. So you're both opposite of one another. Next, I'll need the other two of you to decide who amongst you are going to be the navigators. One must be physical and one must be psychic in nature. I can't make the choice for you. You gotta do it. Who's up?
I.
Which one do you want to be?
The one that's physical, not psychic.
Okay.
Yep.
So, as you get into position, he walks over to you with a silk ribbon, and he wraps it around you in a loose knot in such a way that your left hand is snapped shut to your side, so you couldn't move it if you wanted to. And it's tied. It's cinched so tight that your left leg also, you can't really move on that side entirely. And walking over to Alafair, he pulls from this bag of ritual components the fresh-ish entrails from a pig, and kind of nasty business this. And he goes, "Stand still, lad. We've got to blind your third eye with this." And he ties it around your forehead, essentially.
Hell yeah.
Right. He looks at Brommus, and he goes, "Would you do the honors?" And he nods towards the candles, which there's essentially like a set of 12 candles in each of the corners around you, like all along the perimeter of the hallway.
You just tied me up and you want me to light 12 candles?
With spark, yes.
What
Magically.
Alright, I cast spark. Light all the candles.
Okay. And he nods at you, Alafair.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "It's time for the obscuring mist."
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So I'll just kind of put my hands out and show like the fog that was there before, and like release it across the cabin.
How does it look? What is it like? Dark? Is it brown, black, gray?
It's like it's almost like a dark fog in London, like you know, like stormy almost, like but not visible.
Nice.
Maybe you can see your hand in front of your face.
Good. As the
Like
last,
you're going down an alleyway and Jack and the Ripper times, you know.
as the last of it begins to seep out from your palm and away from the circle or the bounds of the circle, Petros holds his left hand out over a small chalice that's sitting on the ground right next to the canopic jar, and he takes the dagger and he slices down his palm, and he drops a few drops of blood, from the chest height into the container, and as they hit the bowl, you see almost like a gunpowder ignition sort of flash around the circle. This white light flares, and all sound from outside the circle, the sound of the train and the weather, it just vanishes with a muffled thump. He turns and he looks at each of you in turn, and he goes, "Everyone ready?"
Ready.
Yeah, ready.
Ready.
Yes.
All right. Repeat after me. Hang on one second. I don't expect you guys to get this right. Do the best you can. Alright, so he says, repeat after me. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite.
Spiritai
mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. Spiritai mihi in infernalio obidite. And final spirits, heed my command! And with a blazing light, the jar just ignites in this bright indigo flame as each of you is cast, and you can see a different colored aura around each of you. Around Petros is bright amber, Brommus is a brilliant vermilion, Alafair is a deep and dark gray, Widegrowl, you're surrounded in a metallic blue sort of aura, and Valan is a bright orange shot through with streaks of pale gray. The aura sort of coalesces underneath each of you along the lines that you inscribed in the floor in the circle and shoots down the lines to form a perimeter around the jar itself, which as it does slowly starts gyrating and jostling in place, like boom, 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 boom. And as this happens, each of you begins to hear like a low whistle, as though a tea kettle was ready and sort of steaming on the pot, gradually starting to increase to a fever pitch. The louder and louder it gets, the higher the jar becomes. It begins floating, eventually settling about waist high for Petros. At this point, his hands are out still. He's holding the dagger in his right hand, the bloodied left hand out in front of him, sort of like this, and his eyes have completely rolled back into his head, and he's just muttering in Varisian, but it's not a version of the language that you all have heard before.
Damn.
So the whistling gets louder and louder and louder until it's almost like a nails on the chalkboard screech. Everybody go ahead and make a perception check. Interesting. Okay. Brommus and Widegrowl, the two of you hear skittering, as though something with a lot of legs is just around the corner of a long hallway from you, even though that absolutely should not be possible. You're standing in this small corridor in this crowded train.
Promise. Did that centipede from Ambrosia's follow us?
No,
Did you hear that?
He don't last long. I heard the same thing. What about you guys, Valan?
Valan, do you guys hear that?
I can't hear anything.
Something
Something
around that.
Legs. Something's got to be in the circle. Sounded like.
Yeah, around that corner or something.
Like a spider?
Didn't Petros say, "Don't let anything into the circle"?
And nothing could come in unless we let. Who let? Did
Who
one of
let
you
it in?
something in?
It's, as far as the two of you can tell, it sounded as though it was outside the circle itself, which you all saw seal with that flash of light. All of you, with those perception checks, see frost beginning to rime slowly, crisscross and spiderweb its way across the windows in each of the train cabins that you can see into from where you're standing in the hall, even though it's not cold outside.
I swear it wasn't me this time.
It begins to also rime up around the metal and the wood panel fixtures on the side.
Are we sure Petros is doing this right?
He's completely engrossed. Just he looks like he knows what he's doing, but
I'm dead silent, just looking around because I'm scared shitless. But I don't want to say that. I'm just like
I'm starting to get nervous. I still got that sword in my right hand, but
I pull out my flail leaf and hit it.
as you go to do that, each of you make another round of perception checks.
Dude, what the fuck, man?
I'm a perceptive guy.
Okay. Each of you begins to feel a strong wind pick up and circulate amongst the room, although nothing is moving. It's pressing against your skin, and it's preventing you from lighting the pipe. Promise. Let me see.
Oh, that wind, it's like we're on the seas.
Okay. You are very much shaken, Alafair, and disturbed by what you see, but Brommus, out of the corner of your eye, you see something. It's almost not quite there, but a shadow just outside the furthest point of view that you can see, almost slither around the darkness of the mist, which again shouldn't be possible considering how little space. You guys are pressed into this magical circle. There's maybe a foot around you entirely, around the perimeter of this thing, and this...
Not in the circle, though. This is outside
Correct,
the circle.
outside the circle. Almost like the size of a tree trunk. Like, slither past. And it kind of brushes against the top of this magical barrier and slides away, but you can't quite focus on it. Widegrowl and Valan, each of you notice a maw of teeth attempting to force its way through the barrier, almost like a fist behind a sheet, or like that, from the outside near the front of the hallway up here.
Okay.
Everybody go ahead and roll 1d100.
Oh man. That's crazy. 73
Wow.
seconds.
Holy
shit! Wow. Wow.
That's nuts.
Interesting.
What? How did
Okay.
that happen?
Each of you look to Petros, who stopped chanting and is looking extremely intently in the direction of the thing you just saw. And for a split second, the four of you were on the verge of panic. But seeing him sort of snap back to his senses and take a guarded step towards the thing at the front of the train, you all rally. And instead of panicking, you each get +2 morale bonus to any saving throws for the duration of the ritual.
Hell yeah.
Fucking A. And as this happens, Petros looks around at each of you, and then he looks at the thing, and he raises his hand and lets off one of those gestures of warding. And he says, "Begone, foul thing!" And he sort of blasts at it, and there's a screech as whatever this thing is reels in pain. Like...
No! Let us in!
No,
Damn.
I'm just looking at all of them, just kind of like freaking out.
Get ready, Valan. We might have to fight some of these.
Hold steady, boys.
Petros shakes his head again. He goes, "I said, begone, vile fiend!" And it replies,
You cannot keep us.
he says, "I say again, be ye gone!" And he makes another one of the gestures, and it writhes in pain and bounces off the barrier. The fanged maw that was attempting to force its way through now skitters off to the side. And as that happens, each of you go ahead and roll another perception check for me.
Oh my god.
What did you ask to roll? I'm sorry.
Perception.
I'm clueless this whole time. I'm
You're
just
scared
what
shitless
the fuck
right
is
now.
going on?
Okay. Alafair, as you're still terrifyingly staring at the front of the train, the three of you notice now, surrounding you on this side, and this side, are another three, not three each, but three total, these fanged serpentine things from outside the veil. And they say,
This one knows its lore.
one of the others says,
But these ones are not so versed. Let us in,
little birds, let us in. Now. Everybody roll a will saving throw.
Oh man.
I'm also scaring the shit out of my dog. I'm sorry, Moose. It's okay, baby. It's okay. It's not real. Oh, sweet pea.
Where is that?
On
Right
the
under-
main page of the sheet, you'll see a...
Right under initiative.
Yeah.
5 for your armor class.
Oh, man.
Oh, Promise and Jared are about to fucking snap.
Just the two of you. Brommus and Valan, go ahead and roll again. No, sorry, my mistake. But you guys roll sense motive, just the two of you. Did that out of order. Give you the two each. Okay. The two of you are shaken, but otherwise unmoved. You still have your faculties about you. As that happens, Widegrowl, beneath your tunic, you feel the symbol of Eridan that you have hidden start to burn against your chest.
Is it getting too hot to wear?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm not liking this, boys.
I turn to the one that's closest to me. It was like facing me on this outside part. Can I do the same thing that Petros was doing that other one? The spell thing?
Yeah.
He said to cast?
Yeah.
In the power of the light be gone or whatever. I command thee.
Into the light I command thee.
Into the light I command thee. Into the light I command thee.
Again, it reels back. It bounces away from that side, and it approaches from this side instead.
Do I realize he's doing this? Obviously, we're so close.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. Into the light, I come in to the other one.
Which one? Ping it. Ping your side.
This side. How do I ping it?
Left click with the move tool and hold it. Okay. So as you do that, it lets out this primordial scream, and it skitters away also to the front of the train where it bumps into its compatriot. You guys see the two of them like two whelping puppies. They sort of bump into one another like they're competing for food, and they nip at each other's throat for a second, and then each of them switch positions to where they were initially seated. So now the one that was here is over here now, and the one that was next to Valan is now over here. And they say, "No, I think not, little birds."
Guys, it's working. Cast the spell.
Aye! Use the glyphs! Use the bloody glyphs!
None are on my side now, right? Correct.
No, one of them is, yeah. The one that was initially standing next to Widegrowl is on your side again.
I use it again. Into the light I command thee. Into the light I command thee.
Are there any by me?
Yes, there's one next to you as well.
Into the light I command thee. Into the light I command thee.
I'm fucking cowering.
As Widegrowl hits it with that final glyph, it reels back and it begins to disintegrate. You can just see it's almost a shadowy outline. It's like an absence of space, each of these things inside the mist. Like they don't have a real physical form, but you see this outline of nothing just dissolve and splinter apart as it screams in each of your heads. And the other two circle a bit hungrily, and one of them says, "Oh, more for us, yes."
Into the light I command thee! Into the light I command thee!
Same for me. I'm just over there, just like I'm like in like a praying stance, just into the light I command thee, into the light I command thee, just over and over again.
And I'm chanting it as well, but tears are rolling down my face.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're fucked up.
Go ahead and Valan, go ahead and make a will saving throw.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice. Hell yeah. All right, the rest of you roll perception. Alafair and Valan, the two of you see a ghostly impression of Dahlia bound, gagged, and with a knife driving towards her throat.
I immediately into the light I command thee.
As you do, the image
I fall to the ground wailing.
shatters and smokes. All right, go ahead and roll a d100 then, Valan. Actually, both of you. Okay, Valan, roll 1d3. And hang on, let me just make sure.
Ruh-roh.
Make an intelligence check.
Boy.
Me?
No, just Valan.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Okay.
My boy's smart.
You know, just you, Valan, you know that is, you get the sense that has everything to do with the projection of your psyche and the guilt over what you've done. You lose 2 points of sanity. Don't worry about that, I have that marked down separately.
I'm just on the ground holding my head like this, and tears are just streaming down my face.
I grab him and stand him up and message, pull yourself together, elf.
Okay. And I kind of just wipe my face, and I just kind of try and shake it off.
Alright, each of you roll perception one more time.
Oof.
All of us?
Yep.
They're all gone. I don't see any more.
Okay, so except for Brommus, the three of you notice now your attention drifts to the jar. That in the center of which there's about a dozen either runes or glyphs in some language you're not sure, you don't really understand. But each of your auras, the lines that lead from each of you down the floor up and project onto this thing, are wrapped around it, and they're turning in sequence like a Rubik's Cube or like a tumbler, like a Da Vinci Code lock. And about 4 of them thus far have stopped turning, and they're glowing with that bright indigo light. And the rest of them are still spinning around. All of you see now as the remaining creature is just slamming what looks like a mouthed tentacle, almost like a what are those fish? What are they, lampreys or something, where they have the tooth mouth and they just latch on and they suck. That's like one of those, just slamming into the barrier. Boom, 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 boom. I'm coming, little birds. I'm coming for you. This would go smoother if you just let me in. Everybody make a will saving throw.
No one better fuck us.
Come on, Jared.
Ooh. Okay. At that, Petros steps up in front of all of you and he says, "You are not the inhabitant of this vessel." And the creature says, "You cannot know that for certain. You are not the one who was called, and yet still I come." It says, "You are an interloper, and you are not welcome here." And he looks at each of you and looks back to the thing, and he raises his left hand, gesturing for all of you to do the same. And he says, as one, "Into the light I command thee!"
Into the light I command thee!
And
Into the light I
just
command thee!
a huge, engulfing spotlight just blossoms out from each of your hands and strikes the barrier, and you see this creature dissolve in utter agony. As it screams and squeals, it sort of spins into itself. It's sinuous like a tentacle or like a snake. It's trying to like outrun the light, but it can't as it dissolves up the body. And with that, a stillness returns to the circle, and the last of the bands entwining the jar clicks audibly. And all of the runes start to glow a dark, rich indigo. And the jar stops spinning, just hovering peacefully. Everybody go ahead and roll perception.
Dude, what in the world, man?
Well, as far as you guys can tell, everything seems calm. There's no movement. There's nothing outside. Obviously, the train is still moving. You get a glimpse every so often as the mist swirls around, but everything seems peaceful. Everything seems calm. And Petros takes a look at each of you, and he just says, "Aye, bloody well done. All right, let's see, shall we?" And he steps up and he goes to grab the jar.
I just look very concerned still. I'm like kind of behind everybody.
I'm looking at my hand, just like thinking about how he just blasted light out of our hands. Just like, I just keep looking at my hands.
Make an Arcana check.
All of us?
Just promise. Unless you're wondering the same thing, you can too.
I mean, it's all been pretty weird so far, so it's light shooting out of my hands is pretty normal right now.
As you're sort of looking at your hands like that, Promise, Petros notices you, stops looking intently at the jar for a second, and he goes, "I told you, everything in here is symbolic. We're slinging a lot of power around, and if you believe it, we can manifest that belief, at least within the confines of the ring." And he goes, "Aye, get a load of this." And he reaches, just for you guys to reach out and touch it. He's still holding on to it.
I reach out and touch the jar.
I reach out and touch it.
I'm not touching that thing.
Alafair.
I do not either.
Everybody make a reflex saving throw.
Where's
Right
that?
next to Will, in between Will and Fortitude.
Okay.
Oh man.
Alright, everybody roll perception as well.
Dude, what in the world? I don't have any idea. My brain is smooth.
It's a 19 and a 20 for me.
Except for Brommus, the three of you notice Petros' face has gone from smiling to a locked rigor mortis, and his eyes are no longer moving from the jar. every one of you begins to feel a magnetism from the jar itself. And fight as you do, Brommus and Valan, all 4 of your arms snap back onto the container. For those of you who aren't holding it, get sucked back on, and you can't let go. Try as hard as you can.
Even us that didn't touch
The ones
it.
who weren't holding it as well, yeah.
Oh man.
Oh.
As this happens, the world around you dissolves completely with a puff of smoke and coalesces again into a very strange, dreamlike, almost glossy place. You could tell this isn't reality as you know it. Each of you feels a thrum of power as the 5 of you stand in a loose circle in this empty field, and a flash of lightning sort of shocks across the sky and breaks this deep indigo sort of glow around you. Everybody make a perception check.
Hey.
Perception. Okay, you all notice that this strange ethereal and primordial landscape has shifted towards a more MOOR that's definitely Ustalavic in nature. Anyone who wants to can roll knowledge geography. Brommus, you recognize this as the county of Verlich, which is to the southwest and is where the Whispering Tyrant is currently imprisoned. Widegrowl, you know this as well.
That's not good. That is not good.
Each of you, as you're looking around, can still see the others standing now with the jar floating between each of you with your outstretched hand sort of stuck up. Each of you are equidistant from one another around the circle. And another flash of lightning just rips the night, splits it. And each of you hears an echoing woman's voice say, "He will come." And each of you feels another thrum of power. And in the distance, a blast of lightning, not from a cloud, not from the sky, but directed, rips across the night, and you hear an agonizing scream from the woman. A few moments later, again you hear, "He will come." And again, you feel this thrum of power. And this time, you see a gout of searing flame blaze across the sky, and you hear another terrible scream. A few moments pass, and you hear, He will not. And you feel one last thrum of power, and you see this inky, greasy, black light, and you all feel like having the wind knocked out of you, right? Having your breath stolen away, and you hear this painstaking scream that's been waiting to be let loose for over a millennia, and the echoing maniacal laughter of the Whispering Tyrant as each of your minds are ripped back out of this reality and into your bodies, holding this jar in the train. Everybody go ahead and make one last perception check. Okay. Alright, everybody make a reflex saving throw. As everyone but Brommus notices that there is now a jagged crack along the runes on the jar where the glowing lights used to be, that's bleeding like a pale indigo. Everyone but Valan attempts to pull off, but you manage to only get away for a brief second. Your hand snaps back onto it. Valan, you're able to pull your hand completely away and down to your side for a moment, and as if this irresistible force is going to give way, at the last second it doesn't, and your arm just rockets back and grabs onto the jar. And this whistling noise that you guys began hearing when all of this started picks back up again, getting louder and louder and louder and louder, and the breeze that you all felt begins to rage, reaching almost a gale force as it spins around and around and around and around. All of the candles flicker for a moment and burn immediately down to the bottoms of the wicks, something that shouldn't be possible. It should take hours, if not days, to happen, but within a split second, it's wax. And just before you're unable to, hear anything over the sound of this whistling noise and this storm, you see Petros screaming, "Hold! Hold! Hold!" And all the sound in the room inside the circle is completely subsumed. One at a time, each of the candles snuffs out fully on its own, and the whistling stops. Each of you are left holding this jar, and the only light inside the circle is coming from the indigo runes. Petros says, "Oh, bollocks." And in the pitch dark, the crack pulses once with that indigo light, and the jar explodes, flinging each of you out of the circle into the walls of the train car. Everybody go ahead and roll a reflex saving throw.
Man, coming in with those hot rolls.
Hell yeah. Widegrowl, you managed to land on your feet. Brommus, you're flung upside down, back first into the wood paneling behind you. Valan, you're flung into one of the rooms. I'd say over here. Just through the doorway, not very far. Effectively, you can keep yourself in the same spot. Alafair, same thing. You're kind of flung over here through. And... let me find Petros' sheet. 1 second. Petros is also blown from his feet backwards to about there, and you could tell as you're sort of forced out of this magical circle that its power has gone out, as a living being has breached the boundary. With this, the mist begins to dispel, and each of you, for the briefest of moments, as the jar exploded, saw a flash. It looked just like this.
That is
Wow,
not
that's so
good.
sick.
It's not good.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Petros kind of nervously looks around, and seeing the jar on the floor unattended, the light has completely gone out, and he walks over and scoops it up and cradles it for a moment, and he just keeps muttering to himself, "Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit."
I'll just look at him from like being blasted on the floor and just, what have you done?
Oh bollocks. I think we killed her. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. And he looks at each of you and sensing the effect that this sort of blind panic that he's got has. He kind of takes a second, and the old Petros comes back very quickly, and he goes, "Well, at least we denied the enemy something they could use. I mean, think what would happen if they got their hands on this fucking thing. Oh. Is everyone alright?
Kind of like
I'm just on my knees crying.
I stumble over from being knocked over to the wall. We were here and we were there. Where did we go, Petros? Where were we? Who was that speaking? Who was that woman?
That was her. That was. Everyone make a knowledge religion roll.
I'm not gonna make it because I'm so.
You guys, well, Alafair, you are absolutely certain that all of you just relived her death throes from 2,500 years ago.
So I'll kind of like, how were we there? That was then. This is now.
It was a haunt. Mindscape. Very powerful mindscape. That was... Oh, bollocks. Oh, shite. And just as he says that, each of you go ahead and roll perception. All of you hang on. I keep forgetting who it is. Oh wow, we nat 20 that. Wow. Okay.
Oh boy.
All of you hear footsteps approaching from this door over here and see the door kicked inwards by that scarred priest that you all saw get on in Capapesta. And he marches in and he says, "I knew I smelled the taint of foul sorcery. Heretics!" And he draws a sword. Behind him is his little greasy-looking aide. Petros says, "Well, hey, exorcist, it's not what you think it is. Put that fucking blade down before you regret it."
Damn. I'll kind of. Can we move?
Yeah, you guys can do whatever. Combat. There's no one's fighting yet. It's just a standoff.
I'll kind of duck into here where I can see around the corner and see what's going on, but like I just got out of the hallway.
Do we have our weapons and clothes back on?
No, they're in your respective cabins.
I go into my cabin. I think
Yeah, I don't-
go into my cabin and grab my gear.
I don't know who this guy is, do I?
Well, you knew from the... I assume you guys told them about the priest too.
I moved.
This isn't the staring guy. That's separate. This is...
I move into my cabin as well. I kind of like back myself into it with my hands because I'm on the floor, and kind of like turn myself over on my belly and like crawl in, and I start grabbing all my stuff as well because I think that like it's about to go down.
Yeah, I go to my cabin, grab my stuff, but like I walk nonchalantly, like whistling. No heretics around here.
Hang on one second. Let me just get this to load. Okay. So that's the priest, and that's his little aide. I think Randall from Recess, basically. The priest, or the exorcist, the high exorcist, he says, "Lorimer, I knew it was you. I smell necromancy. And he says, you, behind the professor, gesturing at Alafair, who had just snuck into the cabin over there. He says, I smell the taint on you.
Yeah, I kind of just like scurry even further back in here and like get behind Valan.
I draw my Bardiche, and I step up behind Petros.
Yeah, I move up here too.
I don't say anything, I just draw it, stand right behind him. Like I'm ready to defend him.
You would dare draw blades on me? I'm the High Exorcist of Pharasma in this country. Heretics! You have been damned now, Lorimer. As he says that, Petros takes a step forward, brandishing the ritual dagger still, and he says, no, I bloody don't think so. 1 second. Oh well. He says, you and your loony lot have no jurisdiction here. You know who I am. These are my agents, and you know the authority I carry. You know what's good for you. You'll turn your sorry ass around right now. And the exorcist takes a step back for a moment, and he just goes, a lowlife such as you would use that authority. This will not go unreported. I know there's a half-dead amongst you, and something foul went on here. But we'll fight another day. This isn't over. And he storms off, and the aide follows. And our recording is currently being ruined by the sounds of Fort Pierce.
Those fucking firemen, dude. The worst. The worst.
That's why they have the saying AFAB.
I've heard that one.
Alright, so at that, Petros is holding the knife forwards, looking tough as they walk away, and the door shuts. And after a few seconds go by, and he's pretty sure that they're well out of earshot and they're gone, he takes a step forward and stumbles, kind of crashing into the panel of the wall. Each of you guys go ahead and roll perception. Oh, wow. Yep. The four of you see just how drained Petros really is after being the conduit for that ritual. He looks almost 10 years older, and he's very shaky. He's not steady on his feet.
I walk over and I help him to his feet.
He's breathing really heavily, and the knife is almost about to slip out of his hands. He sort of pockets it, puts it in his belt slowly. It takes a few tries. He's not able to get it through that loop, the first few. And he goes, thanks, lad. Fucking, that was close. I probably still could have took him even like this, but... oh, fuck.
What's
would
wrong, Petros?
Would I know if a health potion would help him or not?
Yeah. Go ahead and roll Arcana. You're not sure. It's a pretty good bet, but you don't know for certain.
I would be like, Brommus, the potion! Kind of like snap at him and like run up to Petros. Like put, one of his arms over my shoulders.
He goes, so Save yours. Hang on. And he reaches under his robes and he pulls out a flask. And he takes like 2 hearty draughts of it, and you see the color has come back into his face, and he looks a little bit less haggard, and he can stand up mostly unassisted now. Good idea, thanks. All right. That was close.
I'm kind of irritated because now I'm like, any more eyes we could possibly put in this single carriage of this train?
He goes, I understand. Sorry, webcam's out of the way. He goes, I understand your healthy self-interest, but if it's concern for your safety, or you know what I mean by safety in this case, he's not patronizing you. He's like, if you're worried about him coming after you, don't be. He's stupid. They won't do anything. Like I said, he's outside of his jurisdiction, and he knows full well. We've crossed paths before. He lays a hand on one of my men, I'll cut him where he stands.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Petros.
Aye. After that, after what we've been through, all of us, I do it for each of you. Thanks, boys. And he just leans against the wall for a moment and composes himself.
I'll just kind of like interrogate him again. So what happened? What does this mean now?
See for yourself. And he pulls the jar back out, and he casts Detect Magic and beckons for anyone who can to do the same. It's not a real roll. You don't have to do it. You just, if you do it, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas previously this thing was lit up like a Christmas tree, it's completely mundane now. There's no aura emanating from it. There's no lingering trace. There's nothing. There's just a jar with a crack in the center of it, as far as you guys can tell. Behind you, the storage container is still glowing heartily. You can kind of sense it through the walls. The crate that's in the storage compartment in their cap behind you, but beyond that, you think that the magic in the jar is essentially out. He says, oof, actually, hang on one second. Let me roll for it.
We broke the jar. But in a good way.
Maybe. Says I think you see him walk into his cabin for a second and grab a piece of parchment that has a bunch of notes on it, and he looks at it very intently for a moment, and he goes, aye, too much juice. Shite. I wasn't kidding when I said brute force. Brommus, I think you're right. I think we did break the jar. Like I said, at least we kept it out of the wrong hands, and from the sounds of things, ended some very old suffering.
So is it not possible that we let her out?
Anything's possible. I have to do further research. I mean, this is a goddess we're talking about.
What?
I mean, it could have happened, but surely we'd have seen some semblance of power or escape or something. I mean, it just seemed we were pulled into the mindscape, and when the haunt played out, it was gone. We were just here again.
Did you not see what I saw?
Well, that's what he means by the haunt. If you're talking about the the dialogue thing.
The thing that we saw at the end of the picture of the woman.
Oh, the flash, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I mean, that was no question, that was her. I don't know what it means, lad.
We went to Vilik. We were there.
Aye. From the looks of it, that's it wasn't physical. We were in the circle the entire time. That was something called a mindscape. It's a fragment of it's like a psychic construct. It's an arena that someone like myself or Alafair or the Indigo Lady could construct that allows you to share memories or inflict pain. A great multitude of things, really, but it's rather commonplace in the occult world. So it's no different than an arcane spell or a bit of magic, you know? That makes sense.
I'll just kind of interrupt and be like, so we don't know if she's dead.
I don't.
Didn't you say this was only a fragment of her? That there may be other vials out there?
That was the legend, that the Knights of Ozum, after she was revived, had preemptively stored her funerary organs inside 5 of these jars. None of the others have been found, to my knowledge.
There may yet be more fragments of her out there?
It's certainly possible. I'd say pretty likely.
What if what escaped from this one is looking for them?
Your guess is as good as mine. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but who can know the will of the gods? Who can understand them?
Aye. Well, Petros, remember that conversation we had in the beginning where, you know, we complete the task that you need us to for you, and then you give us the, I put out my hand.
The dosh. Right. You want lump sum or you want just a stipend?
This ain't no fucking lottery. Give me the fucking lump sum, boy.
Right. Whatever number you give me just doles out to each of you.
I'll let Brommus do it.
I'm visibly distraught because the other guy said he's gonna like report me. There's so much fucking shit going on this train. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to be as low-key as possible, and it is not happening. So I just kind of like storm off and like slam the door into. I'll go into like one of these back cabins.
All right.
At this point in time, like, how much time has passed since we left Chastel?
You guys left at 7. It took several hours to prepare the ritual and to teach you guys the warding exercises, like the glyphs, and to purify each of you in turn. So it's about 3:30 in the morning.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Which,
I
you
was
know,
asleep.
this entire thing from start to finish, from when you guys closed the circle, it's been about an hour and a half. So that was when you had to wait until that long anyway, because that was when you were passing the ley line, which is a source of power, effectively. Like a geographical fountain of occult or magical energy.
How much longer do we have to Cortad?
Cortad is like 3 days away.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty far. I'll cue the map up real quick, hang on.
Oh man, this is gonna be bad.
You guys are you're basically right about here right now.
I mean, like I said, I'm kind of just in my bunk staring out the window. I'm like pissed, just trying to think about how I can get away from all this shit. Like, I didn't even really want to get wrapped up in it because I just got caught in the fucking coffin in the back. So I guess I'll like go to sleep as I peer out the window.
You're in it now. You swore the oath. You're a
Yeah, I
bonded,
know.
You're a bonded agent of the Bureau of Special
God
Affairs.
We get badges?
You have a magical badge that in my level of preparation, I forgot the inscription for how to use, but essentially you say something about, may I be damned if I break my oath, and on your left forearm, each of you, a small tattoo with the badge will appear. That is, for those in the know, like a symbol of your badge of office.
I used it to murder someone, Josh. I don't know if you were there for last episode.
Yeah, but I had no knowledge that that was something that
I
was capable
forgot
of
to explain it to everybody. Essentially, the first... Hadn't planned on inducting you guys that early, but needs must. So you all know that. We're just gonna hand wave and...
Cool.
Alright, well, I'm gonna... Alright, well, that was a big night, y'all, and big day there in Charleston, so I'm gonna take night and smoke some flay leaf before bed. I'll see y'all in the morning.
I'm gonna hit the hay too.
I'm gonna help Petros to his room and say, "You should get some rest, my friend."
Aye, you too, lad. You look haggard.
I am haggard, Petros. I've never experienced something like that in my lifetime.
If you ever get the chance or want to.
I kind of chuckle with him as he says that.
Not bad for your first excursion outside the forest, eh?
Some bad, some good, but experience nonetheless.
Aye. We made it through.
Yes, now get some rest, my old friend.
One second.
I just get so tense every time Jared talks to Petros now.
You too. And he just pats you on the shoulder. He goes, you too. And he kind of points towards the door.
I head into my bunk.
Okay. So, that's the actual cabin.
I'll wake up.
Oh,
Go ahead.
go on. No, do
No,
what you
no, you
do.
go
What you
ahead.
gotta do.
I was gonna say I'll wake up whenever the sun comes up
Okay.
in my cabin.
Widegrowl, shouldn't you be up in the front? Isn't that your original cabin?
Is it?
I mean, you guys all have like little duffel bags you can move around or go wherever.
Yeah, I requested an upgrade, so...
It's the same. They're all the same rooms.
Well, this one has a nicer view.
That it may. Valan, as you shut the door to your own cab, Petros goes ahead and walks over to Alafair's and gently knocks on the door. And he just goes, "Hey, lad, you still awake?"
I'll kind of like pull up and look, and I'll crack the door. Yes.
He goes, "I just wanted to say you did good out there today. You exceeded expectations. I know that well, everyone's first time in the mindscape isn't easy, and I know you only have a modicum of training in the art, but it looks like you did well. and it looks like you guys did well in town.
I'll just
Do you have a moment?
come in.
All right.
He
Goes, I want to talk about your future.
my future.
Aye, and he steps in and he closes the door behind him very gently, being very deliberate. And he goes, I told you once, I do have an eye for talent. The two of us know, the others being here is mostly happenstance. I mean, the dwarf and the orc, well, if they weren't bunkmates of ours, I wouldn't have had to include them in that, but needs must. And Valan, I mean, he's a good kid, but he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Given time and given instruction, I'm sure his potential will come to the surface, especially given who his family is, but, I mean, he's only here by appointment, if you know what I mean. It's nepotism in action, but duty's duty. I have a job to do. You, on the other hand, you have skills that I know for a fact are useful in our line of work. I know that each of you has been minted as an agent of the throne, at least in name. I told you there'd be a bit of a tryout, but I was hoping we could strike a more permanent arrangement once your business is concluded. You know, as well as I do, that you're not really Zarni. You'll never be one. Not by nature of who you are, but what you are. They'll never accept you, you're not a full-blood. And you know your pointy-toothed friends are in the same predicament. You're a plaything to them, nothing more. I know we've joked about protection and price, money and greed, but stick with me, and I'm offering you something real. I'm offering you a future, a life, one where you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder or who's got your next meal, where it's coming from, or the roof over your head is your own, not some underpass or some hideout from guards you've pissed off or ran afoul of. I mean, it's not glamorous work, it's not good work, but it must be done. No others could have, by necessity, done what we just had to do. I mean, how many people do you know who would have taken that vase and used it for ill? Just food for thought. My offer still stands, and I just wanted you to know that the promise we made, the bargain we struck, it's still in play, and it's still permanent. I'll keep the church off your back, and when we get to Lepidstadt, if you would like, I could even help you with a new identity. We could get you a new face, a new name, the works. Think on it. Get some rest. And he gets out and heads back to his cabin.
Damn. I'll just kind of like stand at the door with it open and then like lean up against it in thought. I don't have anything to say.
Alright. You guys wanna each you wanna go to sleep or?
Yeah, I'll pass out on
Let's
that
take a
note.
rest.
Okay. Let's take a little fiver real quick.
Oh, I just peed. I could have waited.
I'm gonna take my dogs out.
Hey, I got a question real quick. Josh, how much gold did you ask him for so we can add it to our sheets?
I don't remember what it was in the beginning.
I think it was
Something-
1,000.
Something like 100 a week, and then I think 1,000 total or something like that.
Yeah, like an upfront something and then something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter because we're gonna lose all this at the end of episode 0. But I don't know if we'll ever find something to spend this much gold on. I have. But yeah, sure. It's 250 apiece. Right?
Yeah, I have like 1,000 gold, yeah. Break!
Alright, break. And we're back. Okay, so each of you guys have elected to go to sleep after this pretty heinous ordeal. How does it come to each of you? Is it kind of easy to drift into? Is it a little hard? I mean,
I'm fucking tossing and turning.
it's pretty traumatic.
I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough for me adding the murder on with what we just went through.
I pass out instantly, but I keep waking up in the middle of the night. I can't stay asleep.
Promise?
But
I'm in there I had a really hard time falling asleep. I had to smoke a lot of flay leaf and like zero my hits and like maybe take a couple resin hits just because it's been real. I mean, it was a long day. And I keep thinking about how we like teleported to another place, and I can't get over the fact that we were in Village,
yeah,
where that skeleton soul is locked or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
That's well, he's still he's like still alive in there, and
yeah, but he's locked in there. Like, and I just like
keep
thinking about how he went there.
Yeah, it's like it's guarded by armies and stuff. Like you can't just walk into Village.
And when I'm falling asleep, I keep like thinking about how, like, having dreams about being there and trying to figure out, because I still don't completely understand.
All right. As the night progresses and each of you engage in this fitful, rough sleep, after, we'll say maybe an hour or 3, somewhere in there, each of you begins to have this very, very vivid dream of a forest very similar to the one you saw in the Mindscape. And each of you is on a path, walking through almost an archway of trees as it's bowed around you. Not quite a tunnel, it's very, very wide, it's a very large, expansive space, but you're definitely hemmed in as you follow this trail. And after several minutes of walking down the trail, each of you, go ahead and roll a perception check for me. Okay, each of you hear a gentle humming. And as you continue on further, in the distance you see a figure with their back to you. Gradually, the closer you become, the more details you're able to make out. It's definitely feminine in shape. And on the back, Widegrowl, you recognize on the back of this dark indigo cloak that this woman is wearing, you see in gold the symbol of Eredin. Very, very clearly as it was etched in its heyday. And the woman keeps walking forward, oblivious to each of you. Every so often, you see her reach into a flower basket she's holding in one hand and pull out these indigo petals and scatter them into the winds. And as each of them scatter, all of you go ahead and make a will saving throw. Wow. We do Petros too.
He's having the stream too?
Mm-hmm.
Power just blinked. Not even raining. Oh.
Oh, dude, I saw that one.
You guys good? You're not like DCing or nothing?
No?
No.
Okay. I just if his power was going out, I wanted to wait. Okay. As each of these petals drifts to the ground, a glade begins to form around them off the path out into the distance, and you can see. And each of them forms almost like a projection of a memory. Beginning with Brommus. As you see flashes of a young dwarf with a foster family in Cortad, on his way to Chastel, growing up in Chastel. You see an encounter with a wolf the size of a horse in the woods, alone with Darakb. You see bounties, you see fires that he's helped put out, you see a bank robbery that he stopped. You see a reunion with a brother and a nephew. You feel his ecstasy after having been apart from them for so long. You see a hunt in the forest with the three of them and Darakb. You see the killing of a wolf who turns back into a man. You see a dozen eyes in the brush and a dozen howls, or a dozen pairs of eyes in the brush, rather. You feel the fear. You feel the uncertainty. You see an ambush with the same people. You see the death of his brother, the anguish, the pain. You see his nephew taken by a red-haired man. You see Brommus bleeding, withered, lying in the dirt, and you hear the taunt of this red-haired man. He says, "After all, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And the rest of the words just mumble out as dream gibberish. You see him come to consciousness, being dragged by the Ranger Tarot. You see him raging inside this Ranger barracks. You see him beg her to find him someone who can give the silver he needs to make the weapons to hunt this man. You see a wagon pull up to Califis in front of Oria Kitlova's house. You see a ticket for a train. Each of you sees a young child in a Desnan coven in Califis. Looks a lot like Alafair. Other children run from this one in fear. You see this small sect of Desnan priests go broke and destitute. You see this child grow up on the streets. You see this child try to steal from a Varisian couple, and the woman snatches his hand when he tries to take this apple away. You see her invite him to come to a very special place, an academy, a theater, somewhere where he can fit in and his skills can be used. You feel his pain as he grows up disconnected, aging slower than those around him. You feel the beatings, you feel the thievery, you feel the distrust. You feel the pride of being the best of them. You see his skills develop. You see what looks a lot like a younger Petros and a much older, more regal-looking man standing on, watching the performance in the theater, essentially watching him train, watch him do these pickpocketing things. You see and you sense his first real taste of freedom. And you sense the horror when that freedom is taken away. When he's met in an alley by two vampires who drag him screaming down below. You sense his horror as he is a chew toy, a plaything to the ones who live below Califis. You sense his despair as there's nowhere for him to run and nowhere to leave. You sense his elation when he is finally free of this place. You see and you feel years, decades of doing jobs for the Academy. You feel the pride in his skill, but a hollow and an empty sensation where there should be joy, friendship, love, zest. You feel dead inside. You see a woman who looks a lot like Taro hand a contract to his handlers at the academy. You see him on the row, shadowing Oria Kitlova, and overhearing something about having to sell the silver. You see him speak to this captain inside the academy. You see a train ticket. You see Widegrowl, young and carefree, a child on his family's ranch, a stern, rigid, and disciplined father, a fun-loving, chaotic, and lifeful mother. You see him learn the value of hard work, the value of becoming. You see fistfights, camaraderie. You see him fighting back to back with Thaddeus Radius in a bar one night. Teenagers, the two of them. You feel his wanderlust. You feel the effects of economic recession. You watch as this extended family of ranch hands slowly begins to trickle away. You feel his need to leave and his sense of adventure as he goes with it, and his grief when he finds that he wasn't there when his mother died. You see the light slowly slip out of his father as the farm continues to fall into worse and worse disrepair. You see nights in the chapel praying with his father. You feel his faith. You feel Widegrowl's lack. You see the reverence that the visiting Knights of Ozum from Lastwall, who stay at the ranch, generally have for the family and for his father. One night, you see, wounded and bloody, some of these knights disparaging orcs in front of his father, and you see his father lose control, start to rage. You see one of the knights scream, "Sebastian, no!" You see Widegrowl peeking on with wide eyes from the barn door as he sort of peers in at this. You feel a plan form in his head. A plan that will make everything right. To go to a bank, to get some money, and to bring glory back to the ranch, to reunite this scattered family of his. You feel shame at being kicked, his shame at being kicked from these banks, being discriminated against, spat on. You feel his elation at finding Savala's house and the bizarre sights within. You see a train ticket. Each of you see Valan. Flashes of a carefree and wild childhood. Mischief. Magical mishaps. You feel 40 years of existential boredom, of snide remarks, backhanded compliments, and disappointed and stern looks. You feel confused. You feel pain. You feel isolation and loneliness. You know what it's like to have friends who are not your friends, who see you as a political commodity. You feel joy at seeing the Queen laugh at one of your childish jokes. You feel his reverence for the columns of armed soldiers marching into the Tanglebriar to fight the demonic hordes within. You feel what it's like to be light years ahead of your studies, in magic, in combat, in politics, and in history. You feel years of chaos, of wild magic, of pressure, of disappointment. You sense and you see, not long before you met, a session with a tutor. You see him build a wand, and you see his glee when that instructor goes to take the wand to show his parents. You see a party of diplomats, other elves, other nobility, and you see the wand backfire. Each of you feel the horror in the room as a series of portals open up and strange tentacled things come flooding into the room. You feel his elation at seeing his royal protector cut these things down, and the shouting of the diplomatic party who say, "Traitor, monster, fiend, war." You see flashes of him outside his parents' office, arguing with this captain. You hear the words, "Civil war. What will we do about the boy?" You hear, "Lorimer. There's a boat. You see Caliphus. A train ticket." Each of you sees Petros as a young man in his 20s, delving into various dungeons, ancient ruins, hopping from bed to bed. You see him approached by this older, noble man. You see him inducted into great mysteries and great sorrows. You see decades of adventure and decades of loss, decades of secret wars no one will ever hear of, no one will ever know. You see an elven man in a reflection speaking to Petros, begging for his assistance to take the boy. You see them on the docks in Caliphus. You sense his wonder. You sense potential. Mostly you sense resigned and weary duty. You see a small jar and a train ticket. Everybody go ahead and make a perception check for me. Each of you realize that in your dream you've stopped walking and you're laying on an ancient funeral bier. It's like a stone sarcophagus, sort of. Each of you are laid in a loose circle, roughly matching the formation you were in when you were in the ritual circle earlier. Each of you is marked similarly to the respective jobs you had inside the circle as well. Alafair, your third eye is bound. Brommus, your hand is tied to your side. The other two of you are wielding swords. Petros has a ritual dagger held like this against his chest. As you saw all of these flashes in turn, each was accompanied by this pale blue-skinned woman in this indigo cloak, slowly leaning over each of your heads and kissing you on the forehead. Everyone make one last perception check. All right. 1 second. All of you except for Valan, go ahead and roll 1d100 for me.
Oh. Wow. That's gotta hurt.
Or it could be good. Who knows?
Ooh.
each of you notice in the center of this glen is a mausoleum with a crack that roughly matches the one that you saw on the jar that's glowing with indigo light. And each of you, again with the exception of Valan, notice that the woman, the blue-skinned woman, is actually not touching each of you, but is bound to a piece of tree-like fungus on top of this mausoleum, and that a tentacled fungoid appendage is wrapped around each of your skulls and is penetrating by the temple for each of you. The three of you who rolled D100s, go ahead and roll an intelligence check for me. Widegrowl and Alafair. Oh no, sorry. Never mind, you guys each go ahead and roll 1d3. Oof.
All of us are Widegrowl and Alafair.
No, just you three. You gotta do it again, Alafair. Alright, you each lose the corresponding amount of sanity points. Everybody go ahead and make one final perception check for me.
Ooh.
Okay. Valan and Widegrowl, the two of you see a woman wearing a cloak of dark violet appear and shake her head at this indigo figure. One second. She lands on top of the bier next to Widegrowl and gestures with her hands, and all of you begin to pull away from this big mausoleum in the center. Widegrowl, you notice that the humming that you heard earlier is not, in fact, humming, but is that same teapot kettle whistling scream that you heard inside the circle on the train. Each of you begins to drift further and further away, and the forest paves way to this new, serene, gentle mindscape for each of you. Whatever's closest to home. This woman with the moth wings and the violet cloak soothes you all to sleep and says, "Be not afraid, my child. Here you are protected." Each of you gets the equivalent of a full 8 hours of rest before being awoken with a thundering crash and the sound of breaking glass. Everybody go ahead and roll perception. Widegrowl and Brommus, you both know or hear Darakb has just flown headlong through the window of Brommus's cabin and is screeching bloody murder. Petros comes running out of his cabin and screams, "Incoming!" as the train grinds to a halt. The brakes are slammed, and at the front of the car, a woman screams. Next time.
Damn.
That's not good.
Ugh.